A time comes in the life of every race when people are driven by echoes of the past to chart a course for an exalted future. Africa is at this threshold, as major actors in the Africa arena plot a renaissance towards common destiny. Let's pedal across the streams of yesterday, from the back streets of Africa to the defining roles of policymakers, the political realities of the African nation, balance of power, and the strive to sustain national interest and identity. Join us on Network Africa on Channels Television. Network Africa, the rallying point for the emergence of a new Africa.
Hello and welcome to Network Africa. I am Adeshawa Josh. I'm sitting in for Cynthia Are. This week, the Egyptian Electoral Commission finally releases results of last week's presidential elections, and former army chief Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as predicted, won with an overwhelming majority. The world's most dreaded virus, Ebola, claims more lives in West Africa. The World Health Organization reveals alarming figures from Guinea.
For Ebola in Sierra Leone, the last few days, we have a total reported of 7 coughing cases and 9 suspect cases.
Then back here in Nigeria is the horrifying story of an attack in a village near the Borno state capital, Maiduguri. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And that's where we begin. While the Nigerian military tries harder and harder to quell the militant group Boko Haram, unfortunately, the group has struck back hard and more lives have been lost in reprisal. One example is in Borno, one of the states under emergency rule. The most recent attack has been in a number of villages just on the outskirts of Maiduguri, the state capital. On Tuesday, Boko Haram members attacked the village of Atagara dressed in military uniforms. The people had been deceived into thinking the Nigerian military had come in to help them, only for the supposed soldiers to open fire on them. At least 200 people have been killed in a wave of attacks this week, with reports that the Islamists are flying their flags in several villages in Borno State.
In just 2 days, 352 people have been killed by insurgents in 4 Borno villages of Danjara, Agapalawa, as well as Antagara. But the question many would want an answer to is what has happened to the state of emergency declared in Borno and in the entire northeast.
Have instructed our security forces to launch a full-scale operation to put an end to the impunity of terrorists on our soil.
Why has the military not taken up the blanket directive handed down by the president for them to move into the Boko Haram hideouts and even rescue the missing Chibok girls?
The news about the missing girls has to do with the fact that we got reports of them being sighted in some locations, which we have conveyed to the relevant military authorities for them to really cross-check, verify, and get additional information on the actual location.
It is more of technical and intelligence support, and that's the basis of all the interaction that is ongoing.
A senator representing Borno Northeast laments the spate of killings, saying the zone is under intense siege.
There was attack in part of Adama, Madagali local government this morning, and that is neighboring my local government. And there's attack in Atagara, Amuda, Agapalawa, that is in the eastern part of Uza local government, that is the local government I come from. The siege has been going on for the past 3 weeks particularly, and churches and scores of people have been killed, and so many have been buried so far. And we're trying to secure the place, we're trying to get the military to move in to secure the place so that we can at least go in to bury the dead, and also to move humanitarian or relief materials to those areas.
Boko Haram began its activities way back in 2002 and then became a terrorist group in 2009. So far, the group is believed to have killed more than 10,000 innocent Nigerians.
Meanwhile, over in Niger State, the military recently dislodged over 200 members of a seemingly new radical and controversial Islamic sect known as Nibrasiya Huda, who was said to be from Chechai, Lapai local government area of the state. The sect's leader, Sheikh Mohammed Abubakar, said the members had come together just to learn more about Islam and have no militant motive. But that's a story neither the state government nor the Nigerian military is buying.
This group acquired this expanse of land along the ever-busy Lapai-Gulu road, but not many people know about their existence as an Islamic sect with over 200 members.
Everybody, even including me and Imam, knows the house.
The leader of the sect, Sheikh Mohammed Abubakar, wonders why the security agents raided their abode, as he claims that apart from Islamic studies, there's no other agenda.
Everybody, even including me and Imam, knows the house. The house is just too small to occupy 240 people. So we sought to acquire land to occupy us in order to propagate Islam. We wrote it in the statement of acquisition of land, and it was written even in the CFO that we want to acquire this land solely for propagation of Islam, farming, and establishment of school. That's all.
He also dissociates the group from any link with the dreaded Boko Haram sect.
If at all that has been our aim and our practice, God would have destroyed us for long. Because you can't use God's name to propagate dangerous things. What about Boko Haram? They are propagating dangerous things and we are fighting them. Why can't they fight us?
So what's your stake about Boko Haram, sir?
We don't recognize them. They don't want peace in the country. They don't want people to have rest. They have no aim. They have no policies. They want to destroy people. So we don't know anything about them. We don't follow their own pattern. We are normal Tijaniya sect, which is all over the world.
The leader of the task force, Lieutenant Colonel Adamu Yakubu, reveals that the task force has orders to dislodge the sect.
You can see some of them, they are already in the vehicles, and we are parking their property, and thereafter this place will be demolished. We are going to secure the place for several weeks as will be required, so that nobody comes to inhabit the place again.
This could just be a mere security measure, as many say perhaps the nation would not be in the extreme state of insecurity if the battle against Boko Haram had been launched much earlier than now.
Staying here in West Africa is the dreaded Ebola virus sweeping through the region. Health ministries have been put on alert, especially those in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. But the World Health Organization, which has been closely monitoring the virus, says between May the 29th and June the 1st, 21 people have died. 37 new cases suspected to be Ebola-connected were found, bringing the number of deaths in Guinea to 208, and in West Africa to 328, with 193 cases confirmed by laboratory tests. More than half of the new deaths were in the southern Gwekudu region, where the outbreak is centered. Ebola is a hemorrhagic fever which can kill up to 90% of those infected and is passed on through contact with the fluids of infected people or animals, such as urine, sweat, and blood. However, people have a better chance of surviving if it is identified early and they receive medical attention immediately.
Guinea's capital, Conakry, has recorded its first new Ebola cases in more than a month, while other previously unaffected areas have also reported infections in the past week. This is according to the World Health Organization.
The people are in place, the authority understand the gravity of the situation. I think that we all understand that. Not only the authorities, but all the partners working in Sierra Leone, in Liberia and Guinea. We all want to control this outbreak, and we will control this outbreak. And it will take probably longer than expected, but we cannot do it against the population. We should do it with the population. And if there is things that the population do not understand, we must listen and try to make them understand why they need to change some behavior vis-à-vis other behavior. It's our role and our duty.
The spread of the 2-month-old outbreak, which Guinean authorities earlier said had been contained, risks further complicating the fight against the virus in a region already struggling with weak healthcare systems and porous borders. 7 confirmed cases and 9 suspected cases of Ebola are being dealt with in Syria alone. The announcement comes after the WHO said on Monday that 5 people had died in the country's first confirmed outbreak of the virus, signaling a new expansion of the disease, which regional officials said had been brought under control.
For Ebola in Sierra Leone, the last few days, we have a total reported of 7 confirmed cases and 9 suspect cases. All of them are reported in the Kouindou area district, which is in the Kailaoun prefecture, which is bordering Guinea and notably bordering Gektedu foci of Ebola.
A hemorrhagic fever with a fatality rate of up to 90% is believed to have killed some 185 people in neighboring Guinea and Liberia since March, and the first deadly appearance of the disease in West Africa. Authorities have identified several ways the virus has been transmitted, but human-to-human is the most prevalent form.
We have been able to identify several chains of transmission. One of them starts, I would say, in the forest, but more importantly, this chain of transmission have lasted for 6 months now through contact, human-to-human transmission, so human contact, and again through caring of people without precaution, through nosocomial amplification with transmission within healthcare facilities, and through people attending funeral without precaution and being in contact with people dying of Ebola.
The West African outbreak spread from a remote corner of Guinea to the capital, Conakry, and into Liberia, causing panic across the region.
We'll take a break now, but coming up on the program, will our Sisi's presidency be same of the same in Egypt? We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Network Africa here on Channels Television. Here are all the stories we are also monitoring. We begin in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 301 inmates tried to escape from a prison in Bukavu. Although 3 people died in the jailbreak, wardens say they were able to recapture about 35 of them. Police also say the wardens were overcome by the inmates who took weapons and managed to open the prison door. However, civil society activists believe the number of escapees could be higher, as more than 1,500 inmates were inside at the time, and officials estimate that 80% of the prisoners escaped. There's more from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The country is accusing Rwanda of protecting M23 rebels who have been accused of war crimes. Officials in DRC say 7 months after the end of the rebellion, Rwanda has delayed attempts to interview about 500 ex-fighters currently living in a camp in Rwanda. The M23 took up arms in eastern DR Congo in April 2012, accusing the government of marginalizing the ethnic Tutsi minority and failing to honor previous peace accords. We move over to South Africa, where a man who allegedly kept his wife and children captive in their home for several years has slit his wrist after he was denied bail. The 36-year-old businessman faces charges including attempted murder and allegedly torturing his relatives. The court denied him bail because they thought he might interfere with investigations if he was not detained. Finally, the Kenyan government says it has made its biggest findings this year in the port city of Mombasa with the seizure of illegal ivory, which came from 114 elephants. There is growing concern over ports in Kenya, Togo, and Tanzania being used to export African ivory to Asian markets. The demand for ivory is being driven by China and Southeast Asia, where it is used in traditional medicine.
Stiffer penalties related to wildlife crime have been incorporated under the new wildlife law to deter poaching-related cases and incidents in Kenya.
wildlife is